Hi, Mariana. Good morning. Thank you
Hi,
so
good
much.
morning. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for joining us. How was your week?
The week has been a roller coaster, just like for everyone, I guess, in UK and in the world.
Well,
But positive. I have to say positive on many ends.
you were doing something in operations, weren't you? You were in some nice.
Yes, I just keep reopening and shutting down the hotels. No, I'm just kidding. I've been, yeah, helping a lot of hospitality clients to get back on track with all the restrictions and all the rules that are, and to make sure everything is correctly implemented, and just really, really maintain the warmth of hospitality
That's
within the
brilliant.
operations.
Oh,
Yes.
thank you. I start all my guests with a simple question that might not be as simple with as is the case with most of my guests. I'm asking about hospitality background, and I know you've written about it, but if you could give us the summary of how you ended up being a hospitaler, as I call the hospitality warriors of today myself. Tell us a little bit about how you started, how you ended where you are now, really.
Yes. I've started in 2000, the millennium. I was actually, as I wrote in my book, I got into hospitality using a white lie,
Yeah.
uh, of wanting to be in that world of genuine warmth and being the person as a hospitalian who literally lives it, who treats others with the care and who wants to make lives of others or days of others just better. Um, so yes, I just coincidentally visited a beautiful Mediterranean restaurant back in Washington D.C. And I just really wanted to work there, and just literally approached the owners and asked if they have any position for me that I would like to try. And a week later, they asked me to bartend. So that was it. I charmed my way into hospitality, and then I learned all the little ways of how to use my personality to
So you
just
got
deliver the hospitality.
you got the bag right there, right then. There was no history of any of your parents or relatives in hospitality ever before.
No, no. Besides my dad being an inspector of the hotels and retail grocery kind of stores, but that was back in communism. He hasn't been doing it all his life, but no, no history.
All right, brilliant. And and you started from that bar, and your career history kind of went up into hotels, or apart from hotels.
Yes, I bartended for 4 years. Coat checks, bartending, being a waiter, waitress, being a hostess, everything that needed to be done. And then I looked for a structured environment. Obviously, some restaurant owners saw some leadership skills in me and gave me the opportunity for junior management roles.
Yeah.
And later on, seeking that structured environment, I went straight for five-star hotels because I just knew that for them to remain such quality and such luxury and such precision throughout so many years, building such huge brands, I knew that they had some systems and processes that I wanted to learn, and I wanted to kind of just embrace and see what's into it. How do I build such a huge empire of hotels one day myself?
Are you working on building a huge empire of hotels?
One day, one day.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Yeah, and that's the beauty of hospitality, isn't it? That organizations in hospitality will embrace anyone that is willing to show that positive energy. That's
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah,
and
I think so.
over the I mean 2020 now, so that's been 2 decades, right?
Yes, yes.
Those
Makes me feel old.
those 2 decades, can you isolate the one moment that was really if somebody tells you, tell me a story from your hospitality days, what's the one memorable moment that comes back?
I think it would have to be my story from the Willard Intercontinental Hotel.
Right.
Um, One of the actors, I'm pretty sure mostly Americans don't know, but maybe also here, James Gandolfini was Mr. Soprano, just launched a famous, very well produced and directed documentary about veterans, the war veterans, and they were staying in our hotel, and the place where the documentary was launched was right next door to the hotel. And around midnight or 11 p.m. midnight, the event was over, and I was the only manager on duty, plus the overnight manager, kind of a front desk, someone that keeps an eye. But I was the last and the only one food and beverage manager on duty. At that time, I was the outlets manager, so kind of making sure everything is closed properly for the day. And he just brought all these veterans, the war veterans, on the wheelchairs through the hotel lobby, maybe 40 of them, and they wanted to order 40 burgers. And at that point, we didn't even have 40 buns or 40 meat patties in one shot. You know, everything, maybe some were frozen, maybe not, but we didn't expect such an order or such an event. And so I ran around the other places around the White House, of the restaurants. We were right next to the White House, and just gathered whatever everybody had. And I was helping the overnight cook, again, one person in the kitchen, since
Brilliant.
it's midnight, to flip these burgers to make sure everybody's fed. There wasn't any event order or anything we could have prepared. We were literally just like one bartender, me, one overnight cook, flipping burgers for James and his veterans. And
That's
they all
fantastic.
got fed, and it was wonderful. And next day, I received a bouquet of flowers from him, just thanking me for making it happen, and saying how delicious everything was. And I just cried.
That,
HBO crew and James and
that
my
is a
flowers.
that is a fantastic story, and it's in your book, isn't it? You wrote kind of your memoirs, but in a nice
Yes,
way. I've been reading your book, and I enjoy it very much. And you're calling it Blossom, right?
yes, yes.
It's, I think I know what the reason for the title, but I'll let you tell us a little bit. Tell us about Blossom, the book, when the idea first hit you, and how you went about that.
So a year and a half ago, I established my own company that is called Blossom Hospitality. But that being said, I didn't plan for my book to be called Blossom because of that at all. But it just happened that first couple of people, my test readers who read it, said it has to be called Blossom. It's all about blossoming. It's that. And I said, well, it's kind of cheesy to have a same name of company and the book. But I said, no, but that's the word. That's what the book is about. So I ended up calling it Blossom. But it is about the journey of flourishment. I wanted to inspire others. I wanted to share my stories, really. I wanted to share the whole journey of me getting into hospitality industry, growing within that industry, experiencing the good days, bad days, the rewarding feelings, describe those rewarding feelings, because the word out there about the industry sometimes is that it's a very hard industry to work in, to be in. It requires a special personality, a special resilience, maybe a lot of hours. But I wanted to portray everything that it took of those 20 years of me being in the industry with my heart and soul and my feet and million pairs of shoes. Um, and how the growth is possible and how success is possible and how you don't have to even feel stuck being in one role, how many reinvention options you have while still staying in hospitality
Yeah.
industry.
Well, I think whoever advised you to call it that, they were quite right. It is a story of blossoming, and I think, well, whoever reads it, I mean, I'm reading it, will certainly enjoy the writing of it as well. And some of us who might have worked in the industry identify with a lot of the key moments you're describing there. And I myself, a lot of memories came flooding back from
yeah,
the early days. Um, and you talked about, you know, the some of the negative stereotypes that people are talking about. I think one of the things that people who haven't worked in the industry is the what you also describe in your book is the camaraderie that exists,
yes.
the positive elements that means to be in hospitality. But you know, you described some moments there that I would like you to try and describe, if you can, if you think of some of your more productive days, how you went about it. What are the elements that make your days, your productive days, productive? Could you isolate those elements for us?
I have to say that I've learned how to create a little bit of a structure into my day. Maybe that just came from going through the higher leadership positions and just having to multitask and plan out the day and feel the accomplishments. Maybe it's also the drive I have, but I have to say I use my calendar a lot, and there are a lot of little reminders, and I assign a certain specific time slot for it. So I also don't procrastinate on it. So if someone asks me, can you do this or that? I do have a calendar to check, because I'd like to prioritize whether that day is what has to be the most important part. But I have to say that keeping that productivity level has been just much better with the help of having accountability coach myself.
Yeah.
I have my own coach who I speak to every week or sometimes every 2 weeks. And I share and celebrate the accomplishments, and we go through a little bit of self-awareness. So I keep myself motivated that way.
Right.
So in other words, sometimes we accomplish things automatically and we don't have a chance to pause and think about it. We just want to get things done.
Yeah.
By acknowledging how we accomplished it and how it all went as a process. Was it easy? Was it difficult? Did we run into obstacles? And then what? And talking about it with someone, actually it makes you feel even better, and it gives you that extra boost to get more done.
Yeah.
That's really just what works for me, because now I work for myself,
Yeah.
mostly from home. There is no deadlines. There is no CEO above me who would kind of just, make sure I get everything done. So I have to self-motivate myself. And it's been challenging because, sometimes I move these reminders from my calendar. But speaking to this coach, I think it gives it a little bit more power. I empower myself a little bit more. And now I know that, I'm going to speak to him on Wednesday. And last time I told him I'm going to do this and this and that.
Yeah.
Maybe I should really do it because I really want to tell him how I did it and share it. So it keeps me really going.
So that's great. I mean, there's so much advice there. There's number one is the being structured with your time.
Yeah.
Number two was being accountable to yourself and prioritize. Choose what the bigger rocks are, and deal with the small ones later. And then number three is having somebody that you can bounce off your ideas and your achievements with. And I think quite often we forget to celebrate our successes, and having either a coach or a mentor. I think last week was mentorship. On a Tuesday last week was the World Mentorship Day, wasn't it?
Yes.
And there's so many great schemes. If some of the students might not be able to afford a coach, at least have a mentor where you can meet every now and then and bounce off, and feel that somebody is, you want to somebody you respect, and you can tell them how good you do. Excellent. So you yourself, I mean, you just said you go to this coach, but you also coach and mentor people. Am I right?
Yes.
And how fulfilling is that? Because I'm asking that question because a lot of our listeners might think that hospitality is just hotels and restaurants and nothing else, but it's such a wide sort of industry, isn't it? So
It is. And I think, mentoring is a little bit different than coaching. And we always choose, when I speak to someone, I always choose carefully what's mostly needed. Is it the actual support? Is it to be heard? Or is it to listen to some comparison and advice, maybe from my experiences, what worked, what didn't in the past? Or is it to really just facilitate the steps forward through through asking the right questions, which most of the time is the case, because everyone has that potential to make the great big decisions, to know how to move forward, but they just don't ask themselves the right questions. There is no right thinking environment created in the middle of everyone's crazy busy day. When can you actually sit down, cross your arms and just think for half an hour straight? No one even has an opportunity, especially in the hospitality industry. You're constantly surrounded by people. By the time you're done with your 12-hour shift, you're dead tired. So that half an hour or an hour that I spent coaching or mentoring is really a time spent to have those light bulb moments, to wake up what sleeps inside, just to really go in after, what would be the best version of yourself as a leader, as a server, as as whoever you are. This is not even about leadership. This is about just personality. What could you have done better? What will you do better next time? And it's always just, it's amazingly rewarding. I honestly, the way we start the conversation, sometimes I want to really record some of the chats. With the way we start, everyone is like in this gray mode, and and I don't know what to do, and I have this big problem, and and everything is just kind of very gray, I'd say. And towards the 45 minutes of talking, it's all excitement, it's all delight, it's all it's all fireworks. Oh, okay, great, so I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, I didn't think about it, wow, it's so easy, okay, yeah, I can totally do this. And it's just that excitement about moving forward from being stuck. This growth is just so rewarding.
That's brilliant. It's also hard to block that time and even have a chat with yourself. So I think committing to have a chat with somebody is great. Do you have any clients where you do both coaching and mentoring? And how hard is it to shift from one to the other? How do you do it?
I think the easiest part is always to ask the clients, what do they want? What do they prefer? What depends what they're struggling with. And to be honest with you, I always liked to separate these two, because coaching as intervention just brings so much more from the client rather than me imposing what my suggestions or anything would be. I think the accountability is then with the client when they can be really coached and they come up with all the solutions. But to be honest with you, because of this year, there's been so much need for comparisons, for working together, for collaborations, and for communities to support each other, companies to support each other, leaders to support each other. Everyone has to support each other through this year. So I mix it nowadays much more, just because lots of clients want to do, what do the others do? What have you heard? Well, have you heard anything on this end? So it ends up being a little bit of a sharing, rather than just coaching and torturing that someone to come up with things, because we just, sometimes we just brain freeze during these days. Just when you think of something, you find out why it's not going to work.
It's a double hard time, isn't it?
It is, yes.
It's what's the saying about when you misery likes company sometimes. Everybody's under a lot of pressure, so it's good to hear about the other person who's also under pressure, how they handle this. So I'm thinking about how things have changed with the digital. I mean, the digital revolution is not that young, but I think society has shifted up a gear, and all industries have shifted up a gear with the how they embrace and adopt all things digital. And have you found that in your line of work, and has it affected you? How is it different, or is it not?
In terms of coaching, it's always been Zoom sessions or WhatsApp calls, video calls, because it's best done when we can do it at the client's convenient time. And sometimes it's Sunday night at 9 p.m. Sometimes it's first thing in the morning at 6:30 in the morning, because people want to get that boost before they start their day or start their week. There's been a lot of person to person, because it's just much more personal. But I think the digital for the coaching part is not that difficult. For the part where I set up structures and set up systems and processes, a little bit more difficult, just because it's easier to train people to actually be hands-on, to roll up my sleeves and show them and go through, just being there with them, whatever operational support I am providing. So that's a little bit trickier, but a lot of it's very easy to combine as well. Eliminate the need for commute and see, okay, which parts could we review over Zoom and which parts could we meet for in person in the next 2 hours. I think this is where hospitality actually outshines and comes to life. If you look up the definition of the hospitality, it's the warm and friendly reception of a guest or a stranger. And it's the quality of disposition that you offer, that the way you treat them when they're around you, right? So it doesn't matter if you're there with them or if you're on a Zoom. I can make you feel that you're part of hospitality conversation right now through the Zoom or through whatever digital world is, or create something that is shared on social media that you can feel that hospitality, because it's all about the verbiage, it's all about the colors, it's the visual effects of it, it's what I say, it's how I record myself. I actually think it's just much easier right now. There's so many more things you can do.
Funny you say that, because I recently changed the background of the hospitality stories image there, because we are going yet through another wave, stormy
Yeah.
wave, if you like, but I'm hoping the calm will soon come for everybody. Now you're talking to a lot of executives, um, but you coach, and we don't want you to disclose any client information. But if you were to sort of look at the patterns and the trends from all these discussions, are there any particular issues that stand out as the big issues, the biggest issues that hospitality is facing today?
I have to say, the issues have changed from last year, obviously. I have to say the biggest one is going through change, going through reinvention, going through reimagining how it will look like one day,
Right.
whether it's next year, whether it's when specific establishment reopens. Because I think we're dealing with a lot of resistance, um, and and where we know that only strongest will survive this year. And it's no longer just about accommodating these guests, in terms of hospitality industry, of course. It's not about restaurants just feeding them. You have to do so much more than just that. You have to become the company of choice. You have to look at your culture, your sustainable efforts. You have to look at people themselves. How are you going to support them? How can you come out of this difficult year full of changes, full of back and forth? Um, how can you come out of it strong-minded as well? Because, it's really, really draining everyone's emotions. So I think the biggest challenge now for a lot of either small business owners or business owners in general, and everyone in hospitality that I speak to personally, is the actual adaptation and holding hands through the adaptation, and not being scared of reinvention, kind
Yeah.
of elevating what you were before and what you could become, thanks to this crisis, thanks to the times that are ever changing. This is the time when you elevate who you could be, rather than keep going back to what you were and comparing to what was 2019. Forget about 2019 now. We have to really move and look forward. What can you elevate? What can you do better and different? And how can you reinvent yourself? And I think sometimes, that resistance actually becomes the biggest obstacle and the biggest threat. A lot of restaurant owners, I would think, just want to be stuck with their model, they keep still brainstorming about their target clientele. But I said, but it's no longer that target clientele. So what is your new target clientele? What can be your new target clientele? So I feel the challenge is always focusing their minds from what they can't control and moving them to what they can control, and seeing trillion options in that area, just to move forward from feeling of being stuck and not be scared to change.
Thank you for that. We got a saying in Greece, which I think I found the English version. I think the English version goes something like, "Rough seas make great sailors." The Greek equivalent is about a great captain is only seen during a stormy sea. so I
Yeah,
think
yeah. Or if when life gives you lemons, make a lemonade.
that's another one. You're American, I think, must be the lemonade one. But
Yeah.
we are going through stormy weathers, and we will find a way out. And as you said, the strongest might survive, or only the strongest might survive. But I think during that stressful time, it's wonderful to grow. It's a wonderful opportunity to grow and change, embrace change. And I can see how that can be hard. Um, I don't know. Is it getting hard the older you are, or the more experience you have? And the more set in your ways you are, and keep a flexible mind is, I guess, it must be the answer. So
Absolutely, yeah.
apart from that, let's focus a little bit on the positive. Has there been anything positive that has emerged because of all this? I mean, we kind of said that people will have to find the change, but is there anything more you think, that's a good thing that happened to us because of the pandemic?
I think as much as the pandemic is very hard mentally and psychologically, just to sort of go through the changes, go absorbing all the noise out there, absorbing all just motions of everything being new, of getting started, of changing that gear. Everything just really goes through our stomachs, through everything. I think the focus on mental health is definitely something that I always thought and always said has to be the number one. The focus on people again. I used to, the part of my career was developing concepts and building concepts. And the goal for the best concepts out there was to generate revenue. But often we forgot about the part of people. Often companies hire these amazing, beautiful consultants just to put together the menus, the operating equipment, this and this and that. But then no one invests into the part of people development and going through, which is one of the reasons I built my company model that way, because it doesn't end when the restaurant opens or the hotel opens. It's actually about how are you going to get these people that you decided to hire as they displayed certain skill sets or became assets for you. How are you going to make them grow with you? How are you going to keep that full potential out all the time? How are you going to make them do everything above and beyond? We often talk about going above and beyond in hospitality, but how can you keep that alive within people? How do you make that ongoing effort? So I think the crisis brought a lot of efforts back to develop people, to look at people from different angles. And because we just realized that it's really just the right people that will get us through this and through the change, and really empowering maybe the younger, because the younger have so many ideas and innovation ideas. It's the emerging leaders that get us through it. I have several great examples of students, actually hospitality students that I've mentored, that whenever I speak to them, I have a notepad next to me, because they just they just fly with the ideas. They just, and you could do that, and I remember I did this, and I've been to this restaurant, and this is what I noticed. They could do it so much better. This is what I thought would be better, and they just go and go and go. For them, this is not as bad, I think, as much as it's scary, because they've been observing certain picture and matrix we've been living in, and now it's gone. For us, we are getting out of 20 years of knowing and living that specific picture. For them, this is just a huge opportunity. So I think just giving them the opportunity to shine, listening to what they have to say, challenging them the right way, we're going to see some light. We're going to have to just be open-minded and not frame people in their CVs anymore, for God's sake. This is like the worst that happens in the industry still, that people just look at the CV and they frame you in it. We have to go forward. What do you have that could contribute to this company, to this restaurant, to this hotel, to this cafe, to this delivery system? What are you going to bring me that no one else can? And you will see the real talent and the real commitment.
So you think hotel general managers are changing in that sort of positive, and not just hotel? I just put myself into that, right? Any type of general manager, nightclubs, hotels, pubs, event companies. Do you think the mindset of GMs is changing, or has changed?
I think they're forced to change. I think they are dying to hear ideas and to make it happen.
Yeah.
I'm actually surprised a lot of nightclub owners didn't start the daytime parties yet, and used the outdoor space a little bit more and whatnot, and started some smaller scale things. There's been a lot of ideas flying around. I think they have to. They'll be forced to. I think the openness and
I
the
wonder,
vulnerability will be shown a little bit more,
I
and
wonder,
therefore, yeah,
I wonder if they had restrictions on by licenses as to what they were able to do or not.
yeah, for sure,
That could be the reason. I think there have been some minor changes in the licensing laws to allow them to operate a bit outside of the
yeah,
limit of a nightclub. But it is a shame that governments aren't acting fast enough sometimes.
yeah, for
But I
sure,
think
yeah,
you made a very good point about the people bit. And I used to say in the years before this one, um, I used to say that whenever there is a little bit of a dip in a company's profitability, the first two budgets seem to go, in my view, were always the marketing budget and the people's budget, the training budget. They seem
right,
to be the two sacrificial lambs every time there was a crisis. And I hope, I'm hearing you what you're saying, that hopefully it has to change. And certainly the people bit has to change. And we know it has been super hard for some people not to let their stuff go because of
mm,
the problems with the cash flow. But I think
yeah,
in terms of the ones they keep and how they grow after, once we escape this, once we exit velocity from the crisis, it will be very important that it's
yeah,
people focused once again. So thank you for that. Now we've got the purpose of the hospitality stories was predominantly for the young graduates. They're about to be graduating in July, June, depending on which university, which college they're starting at. What advice do you have for them?
get out there, roll up your sleeves, and get out there.
All right.
Don't be afraid to roll up the sleeves and get involved and grab every experience. Um, and get a coach, get a coach or mentor, someone that will hold your hand through it, someone that will get you through the moments where you don't feel secure, or when you don't know if you've made the right choice, or when you have to choose the path. Um, and then be true to yourself. If you are a hospitality industry employee, or a future hospitality, if you're a hospitalian, like I describe in my book, you live, you live the hospitality life. That's the life you live. You don't have to be even at work. It's not work and personal life. That's just the life we live, right? We're hospitalian through any action outside of work. So live it, keep that passion burning, keep it alive. But again, you know, don't necessarily look for the dream job and get discouraged that the dream job is not open or nobody's hiring. There is an actual hiring mode. Everyone is hiring, not everyone, but a lot of places are hiring. So don't get discouraged. Take an overnight baker job, or don't get discouraged to take a job that maybe it's not something that's ideally great, but just do it. Just, it's better than sitting home. You're still going to learn so much. You're going to meet the people along your way, and you're still gaining that experience. You're building yourself. I have a wonderful story of one of the students that I've mentored. uh, Actually, I met her in February first time, and she was a recent graduate this year, and uh, she just threw herself out there, and she took a job that's maybe not the ideal, but her dream always has been to have her own bakery, or she always liked to bake cakes, and this is the square one where you start. So she did go out there. She is doing the overnight baking. She's doing already her baking and has first clients just through establishing an Instagram account and talking and just being out there, telling everyone, encouraging everyone. So I think it's just much better than sitting back home and analyzing what could be, what couldn't be, and what not. Just go out there and do it. No matter what it will be, it's going to be an experience. If it's a good one, we learn. If it's a bad one, we learn, but we're moving forward.
That's a great advice. Keep active, guys, and keep on following your dream. I think
Yeah.
for anyone else listening out there, a couple of great piece of advice that you gave aligns to some of the things that are happening out there. For example, no matter whether you're a recent graduate or somebody who was in the industry, a number of organizations have come up with mentoring schemes. Two
Yeah.
that come to mind is the Institute of Hospitality,
Yeah.
board, so you can join some of those. And the other thing, you talked about training, and some of the colleagues that might be listening, what training? We don't have money to survive the next week. Where are we going to find the money for training? A lot of the local councils have absorbed some, or they're trying to find ways to get some money where they can establish training, because we must not forget that before March 2020, we were talking about the hospitality industry needing more people, with the Brexit story, and that now suddenly we find that we don't want to bleed talent out. So there's a lot of training for you to upskill. So just look for your local council. Do it very easy now to do a search on any browser and try to find those great opportunities.
Definitely. And one more thing, honestly, hospitality is going to come out of this stronger than before. Another positive aspect, I think, of this year is that we realized how little value the materialistic things have for us in life. Um, we're going to realize, pause, and really get to that self-awareness and realize what is it that I'm missing the most? Is it the new pair of shoes? Is it someone I could talk to? So yeah, maybe in the future the decision will be, I will spend the £100 to talk to a coach for an hour, or I will spend the £100 just to get out of the city into the nature, or just to be able to travel, or just to treat myself with a wonderful dinner. These are the things that people are missing the most, and we're getting clarity on that nowadays. So hospitality as an industry will get out of this stronger than ever. People are not going to stop going out and enjoying their meals. They're not going to stop traveling and enjoying different places and cherishing what the world has to offer. So I think, don't be afraid, and you don't have to wait it out. But if you want to, it's not going to be for so long.
Brilliant. That is a great way to end it with some great advice. Thank you so much, Marianna. It has been fantastic to have you here. Thank you for
Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity. I'm very glad.
brilliant. Have a great day.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.